Hi, guys. Welcome. I want to talk today about maybe an end of year thing, maybe not a holiday thing, but I'm trying to keep December all like holiday content because I just think it's fun. And I know you guys have like so much on your plate. Like you probably don't want any like hardcore parenting strategies right now. so, Somebody asked me on Instagram. I had done a post about, being careful about activities, scheduled team activities for the under six crowd. So any team sport that requires a lot of practice, that requires commitment. And I'm definitely all on board with one-offs if it's something once a week. I'm talking about things that like you, not only is it a team sport, but that is going to kind of be like, oh, like a it could be a selling point, but also like a guilt trip is like the team's depending on you, that kind of thing, or like really structured adult led activities that are multiple times a week. And I find over the years, I'm just getting more and more defensive about the 0 to 6 years and protective. I think it's such a learning curve for you as a person going from, not a parent to being a parent, maybe being a parent of several children. And you're still like finding your way. And I know it's wild about kids because like we get them and it feels like we've had them forever, right? And you think you know your kid and you do, but it's also so new and you're still really learning. And so like learning the whole thing, the scheduling and their personality as it grows and it comes out more and more. And so I just feel like that 0 to 6 years is such a tender age, and we're just rushing things on kids that age that they should just be playing. So, my spiel. You've listened to me long enough. But somebody asked me about what are my thoughts on 6 and up? Like, what about 6, 7, 8? And I said I had a lot of thoughts, too many for Instagram, that I would do a little podcast. And I'm doing it now because I think things might end, or in the winter there might be less team things. And so maybe it's something to think about. So the biggest thing I think about these team sports that are asking for a lot of commitment, time commitment, is for me, it's about what could be done in its place. And I think sometimes we get kids in these things because number one, we just think it's good for them, or everybody's doing it, so we have to do it, or there's nobody to play with in your neighborhood, and so put them in an activity. And I think that's probably a huge portion of it. But I also think what happens is we as a society have been asking kids to start younger and younger with bigger and bigger commitment. And certainly there are there are things that a child should probably start young if they're going to be in the Olympics or, an all-star. I think though I get worried about what is it taking the place of. And if it's taking the place of free play, I don't think it should be done. Okay. If it's taking the place of connection time with you guys, the parents, I don't think it should be done. And people ask me, well, what if you homeschool? What do you think about sports and those things if you homeschool? Well, obviously, if you're with your kid all day long and you have a connection, I would worry about the spouse who might be working and not have that connection. Are they getting connection time? But really, I get worried about the free play because of all the reasons you've heard me state, right? Like free play is what builds good penmanship, which builds the fine motor skills that they're going to need. It builds the core strength and the musculature that lets kids sit and focus later. So it's really important that you get that time. But as I've said numerous times, especially if both parents are working or you're single and you only have a couple of hours a day with your kid, it can't be in these activities. Now, that being said, I want to warn you of a couple of things, even with the 6, 7, 8 crowd, because this particular person was asking because her daughter had to go to the next level in gymnastics, which means 2 to 3 practices a week that are 2+ hours a shot. And that is standard at 6 years old in gymnastics. That's a lot. That's a lot for a kid who is early in their educational career, still learning the ins and outs of school, and school has gotten highly pressured. But there's a couple of other things that we have to be careful of when we're looking at that age group. So we have gotten so obsessed with kids specializing, and we think, okay, I'm going to have a gymnastics kid. The problem is it becomes a year-round sport. So it used to be back not that long ago that kids did seasonal sports and there were rec sports available. You didn't have to do the travel team. You didn't have to do the high end, and you could just play. You went to one practice a week. You had a little meet or a show, and that was good enough. And now if you're any type of good parent, your child is going to specialize and they're going to go to the camps. And what we're seeing are repetitive injuries. Baseball was never meant to be a year-round sport, but you get a kid who likes baseball, a kid who's pretty good at baseball, and then they start going to the summer clinics, and then they're playing baseball all year round, and kids are getting rotator cuffs, ACLs blown out, all kinds of problems at 12 years old. And they get to be like 16, 17, and they're burnt the F out. And so they don't even want to do it anymore. There are always prodigies. And you can't make a prodigy. You can make a good sports person. You can build with enough practice. I believe most people can get pretty good at things, but you're not going to build a prodigy. And prodigies show themselves early on, and prodigies a lot of times take the initiative. I have absolutely met little girls who are doing back handsprings at 3, who watch YouTube videos on conditioning, will sit and do sit-ups of their own accord. And it's not the parents pushing them. The parents support it, but it happens. Okay. But if your kid is kind of average and you're looking to make a great sports person, I'd be careful with that. Sports are going to eat up your life. When I say sports are coming for you, I'm not lying. And I do know that sports can be like, kids can age out by like 9. I've told the story before. Pascal decided he wanted to try soccer. And I was like, yeah, great. He's only played baseball and we only did it seasonally. And there was nothing. At 9 years old, he couldn't get on any sort of like good team because those kids had been picked and cultivated and practiced since they were 5 years old. By the way, many of the kids we know that had done that burnt out and stopped playing. So I think that's important to remember. Any of the I'm just familiar with baseball because that's what Pascal played. So I don't know very many sports or who got great. But a lot of times in baseball, the greats, they usually come from the Dominican Republic. They started kicking around a can, stick ball with a can and a literally a wooden stick. So the greats didn't have all this like opportunity that we're trying to give our kids now. And it's going to come. It's going to come for you in middle school and high school. And I just don't know that is the right fit. So I'm not against anything. You do what you want to do. And I know there are tons of people who love sports, don't mind being in the car all the time. But at 6, 7, 8, I would much rather see a kid in rec sports and just investigating where they want to go, because at this point, things already start to get expensive and you can't go on vacation. You have to show up at the practices. And I have close friends of mine, their kids are younger and they are slaves to the sports. The parents do not have a life. It's travel. The kids are eating in the car. At what cost? And I know a lot of people, I think it amped up when college became so competitive and weird and expensive. And I think people look towards scholarships, and scholarships aren't easy to come by with sports. And so I would take a really hard look at your kid. Maybe if your spouse is saying something different, if, maybe you have a family member. I used to rely on other people. I didn't know baseball. And so I relied on what other people, mostly dads would say about my kid, because I couldn't accurately judge. I thought he was great, but he's my kid. Of course, I think he's great. So Pascal had potential and he chose to give it up. He much prefers, snowboarding. He much prefers hunting, and he gave it up. And so I would ask your child, do they want to go? I'd be willing to quit if they don't thoroughly enjoy it. And if you find yourself having to push your kid, maybe that's a sign. I think we all have to push our kids in some ways, but it's really tricky. It's really tricky if you have to push and pull all the time. Okay. And I would say this, Make the choice that's going to suit your family. Again, I don't care what you do, but if you find yourself constantly stressed for time, constantly full of more mental load that's burning you out, constantly worried about your kids' well-being, you could be using your time better, okay? And I have a friend who, her daughter's best friend is mired in everything. The mom says no to nothing. The girl's in all kinds of activities. She's also underweight, has GI issues, constant migraines, and is constantly stressed herself. That's not good for a kid. So maybe one thing, if your child is routinely falling asleep in the car at that age, if they're falling asleep doing their homework, I'd reevaluate. And I think it's okay to do what's right for your whole family. So part of this mess of parenting that we've gotten ourselves into is the child being the star of the family, the child, everything for the child. And I get it. We're exploring on this podcast where that comes from. But it has to be right for everybody. I say this about sleep. I don't care who's sleeping where. I really don't. As long as every single person feels really good about the sleep they're getting, I do not care. Same thing with sports. I do not care what you do as long as every single person is happy. If somebody's not happy, we have to look and reevaluate what's good for the family and what's going to suit the family. And that might mean that somebody's going to be disappointed, both pro and against the sports, right? So it may be that you have to keep your child out of some things and they may be disappointed. But it's gotten really messy because there's so many things. And what other opportunities might your kid be missing if they're in sports practice? Might they be missing band? Are they truly musical? Might they be missing theater opportunities? I think theater and band are two great team activities that often don't require quite so much. And so not everybody's a sporty spice. And I would just sit with yourself. Are you trying to create a prodigy? Is that number one? Is it a moneymaker? Is it like, at 6 years old, I don't know, is your kid, I think usually by then they can, like the coach can tell if there's like potential or not. I don't know, but I think it's worth checking in. Like, is my kid going to have to work their ass off to get even like mid-level? Is that worth it to you? Maybe, maybe not. Does your kid just love it, love it, love it, love it, love it? No complaints, gets everything done, homework's done, chores done, everything's done. So let's go. I want to go to practice. Okay, that's something to consider. But again, be willing to disappoint your kid for doing the right thing. I used to be an aerialist doing circus work, and a lot of girls would come to aerial because they were gymnasts who like blew out their knee or had a bad injury. And I've met many girls, particularly with gymnastics and dance, who got injured somewhere around high school and then were very bitter because they realized how much of their lives they devoted to a sport that now all the eggs in one basket were in that sport. And now they had no childhood. A lot of girls had to homeschool because of their gymnastics schedule and didn't like it. They had a very small group of friends, the people at the gymnastics gym, that there was a lot of inbiting, competitiveness, stage moms. And so, yeah, I think it's just something to proceed with caution. And again, family meetings, making sure this suits everybody, making sure that the mental load is not just on you, making sure that everybody's getting sleep, everybody's getting good meals, sitting down to dinner, not eating in the car, not eating fast food in the car just to get to the next practice. So that is my warning. Again, I think that this isn't have to do with the holidays, more with end of year, because I think some things end and begin in the new year, but also just something as you're planning your family's life, because I want you to approach this year with intentionality and make choices, not because you're being swept along in the crowd, not because everybody says you have to, therefore you do it, but because you've really sat with your family, with your spouse, with your dynamics, and this is what's going to work best with our family. And again, I beg of you, if you both work outside the home, of course, at that age, your child's probably in school full time. So it's like really cautious to hold on to the family unit. I'd be cautious to really hold on to the family unit as much as you can, because it goes away, it crumbles. And there's going to be so many activities in middle school and high school. I'm not sure this is the age. And again, only you can make that decision, but I hope I've given you some things to think about. All right, that's all. Put your phone down. Rock on. Bye.